Well, actually almost have a perfect segment here for the Calgary Flames, as they actually collected 11 out of possible 12 points here. Well, despite all the wins and points they're collecting, still got to look over here for the San Jose Sharks and the Vegas Golden Knights, because they're on our heels here in the Pacific Division. Anyway, it's time for another episode of Hi there, it's Brett Hornby here. Welcome to my Calgary Flames in 6. This is where I do my regular 6-game recaps of the Calgary Flames. Here we are up to episode number 9 here, as we'll look at games 43 to 48 on the 2018-19 NHL schedule here, concerning the Calgary Flames here. And let's just do a little throwback or flashback here, because this is kind of symbolic with how well this team is looking right now, that they still need to seriously start considering the Calgary Flames this year as Stanley Cup contenders this year. And also a couple people and players are up for, you got to consider they're up for individual awards here. But shall we, let's start the recap, as I'll bring out my notes here, as I always do on my Google Docs. So I say 11 out of possible 12 points here in this 6-game segment is almost perfect here, which says how well things are going right now for the Calgary Flames. So if we go back to game 43, this happened on Saturday, July the 5th, and it was taking on the Philadelphia Flyers at the Wells Fargo Center. It was 11 a.m. puck drop. And it was an afternoon game to continue on the 4-game road trip here. If you left off the last episode here, the Calgary Flames actually took this one 3-2 in overtime here. And we didn't play the best game overall, but we got it done when it mattered the most here. I mean, the Flames did have some penalty trouble here, and first score happened with Travis Sanheim. Had a lucky bounce, the former Calgary Hitman, to make it 1-0. And then Johnny Gaudreau, he always seems to like to show up in his hometown, scored a goal in his hometown. So it was tied at 1 there. And then Travis Konecny put the Flyers up 2-1 there before Matthew Tkachuk, with under 5 minutes left to go in the third period, tied it up there, which showing he can be clutch down the stretch there. And then Matthew Tkachuk, not only he scored the tying goal here for the Calgary Flames, he also was huge in setting up the game winner that TJ Brodie scored in overtime there, as he took the play up down the ice, and TJ Brodie was on his left wing and set him up, and TJ Brodie scored the winner there. So it was definitely nice to see Brodie rebounding this season after having a tough season last year. But I think being back with Mark Giordano has definitely helped his performance overall this year, and one of the guys that I say should be up for consideration for rewards is Mark Giordano. Is definitely having one of a Norris-like season here, to where he could be up for the Norris Trophy here. And then for goaltending here this game, Dave Riddick was definitely very strong in this game. He had 32 saves in the win, and Carter Hart actually started the game for the Philadelphia Flyers there. He actually looked pretty good too here with 29 saves here. So I'm thinking, with all the goalies that the Philadelphia Flyers have gone through this season, Carter Hart, I mean, might be ready for prime time here. That's my personal opinion, based on the small sample size there. But I think the Flyers have, like the Flames from the 1998-99 season, used 8 goalies because of all the injuries there. So hopefully the Flyers can finally slow down the carousel there for the sake of their team here. So that was game 43. So game 44, this happened on Monday, January the 7th. The Calgary Flames took on the Chicago Blackhawks, at the United Center, 6:30 puck drop. And this was the game that would wrap up their 4-game road trip there. Before the game, a couple players got sent down to the Stockton Heat there. John Gillies, the goalie, who was called up because Riddick was a little injured at the start of the road trip. And then Dylan Dubé, he got sent back down to Stockton after coming back up and played a few games with the Flames there. So players are starting to get a little healthier here. And also, some of these players can always use a little more seasoning in the AHL here. But let's get back to the game here. Coming into this week, too, Johnny Gaudreau was the first star of the game first star of the week, I should say, for the NHL here. And he proved to the Chicago crowds why he was first star of the week at that time, because he had 2 goals in that game. And he had 1 in the first period and 1 in the third period here. Let's also highlight guys like Sean Monahan had a goal and assist. Elias Lindholm had 2 assists to lead the Flames away. Patrick Kane and Alex DeBrincat also answered for Chicago, and actually at one point in this game had a 2-1 lead here early in the second. Then Sean Monahan scored the tying goal in the second period, and then Garnet Hathaway, of all people, scored the insurance go-ahead goal in the final minute there. And then Brandon Saad, he did score with 30 seconds left here, but the Flames wound up winning this game 4-3 here, and took 3 out of 4 games on that Eastern road trip there. And I can highlight once again that David Riddick, he had 32 saves for the Flames here, who's definitely taken over the nets here for the Flames and has done a great job. And Chicago had Colin Delilah, because I know Corey Crawford has still been up and down with injuries here, and you got to wonder if he can still sustain his NHL career at this stage. Colin Delilah actually had 39. He stopped 39 shots out of 42, so the Flames did outshoot the Chicago Blackhawks in this game, and had a successful road trip here, I'd say, winning 3 out of 4 there. Definitely collected points on teams that were below them in standings here. So now the Flames start a 5-game homestand here. Game number 45. This happened on Wednesday, January 9th. We were taking on the Colorado Avalanche. It was a 7:30 puck drop at Scotiabank Saddledome. As I said, started a 5-game homestand, and maybe we can say potential first-round playoff preview. But how this game started is that the Flames actually had 2 quick goals here from Michael Backlund and Mark Jankowski here, where Colorado answered back with 2 goals of their own late in the first period. Nathan McKinnon and Eric Johnson. And actually, this game overall, the Flames didn't really take too many shots here and didn't really had their best game here. In the first period alone, they actually were outshot by the Avalanche 11-5, and overall, they were outshot 35-16 in this game. But then in the second period, where Elias Lindholm tied it up in the second period here, and then Michael Frolik midway through the third took a 4-2 lead for the Flames there. He also had players like Mikko Rantanen, who's one of the top players in the league, and Matthew Tkachuk also scored in the final minute here. That seems to start being a trend here, is that somebody seems to score against us in the final minute here. Dave Riddick had another strong game with 33 saves, and we can actually highlight that Mark Giordano had 3 assists in this game, and the Calgary Flames won this game 5-3 overall here. So it was definitely, find a way to win, which is something that good teams do here. So that was game 45 here. So game 46 happened on Friday, January 11th. The Calgary Flames took on the Florida Panthers. It was a 7 p.m. puck drop at the Scotiabank Saddledome here. And speaking of finding ways to win here, well, the Calgary Flames definitely needed to find a way to come back in this game, and ultimately they did, because they were down 2-0 here very early in the second period here against the Panthers. Mike Hoffman scored, opening the scoring in the first period, and Jonathan Huberdeau scored with 20 seconds into the second period, and already it was 2-0 for the Florida Panthers here. Then the comeback came away here with Michael Frolik. He had a goal and the 2 assists here. Mark Giordano also tied it up in the second with Matthew Tkachuk and Sean Monahan scoring in the third here. Once again, someone scoring against the Flames late in the third period. Again, Dadonov scored very late, which seemed like a trend here, as I said. But the Calgary Flames did beat the Florida Panthers 4-3 here. I'm going to say Dave Riddick. He only needed to make 24 saves to win here, and Roberto Luongo was in net for the Florida Panthers here. Hard to say how many more times we'll get to see Roberto Luongo come out to West here, but he made 20 saves in the loss there, but definitely Roberto Luongo is definitely I can look at him as a Hall of Famer, as he's definitely made a big impact for both the Vancouver Canucks and Florida Panthers in his career here, so we'll see more games we'll get to see from Roberto Luongo down the road here. So game 47, this happened on Sunday, January the 13th. The Calgary Flames took on the Arizona Coyotes. It was a 7:30 puck drop at the Scotiabank Saddledome here, and the Flames were looking for that perfect all-round game here. Well, I think this was definitely the game here, as the Flames definitely dominated the Coyotes and took advantage of another team that was lost in the stands with a 7-1 victory here. This was also Mark Giordano's 800th career game in the NHL, all with the Calgary Flames here, and not bad for an undrafted defenseman here. But he also made a count here, as he had 2 goals and assists there as well. Matthew Tkachuk also had two goals in this game, and 2-point games all around to guys like Michael Backlund, Sean Monahan, Michael Frolik, and TJ Brody all had 2-point games here. Also, another player to note here is he's still up with the big team. I know he was a little injured here, but Andrew Mangiapane was the 6th-round pick. Back in 2015, he actually collected his first NHL point and assist in this game, so that's definitely something worth noting here. Another thing that's worth noting here is that David Riddick had the night off here, and Mike Smith actually started and had a good game with 22 saves here. The Flames are still going to have to make a decision here going into the playoffs here on, is Riddick going to be backing up Mike Smith, or are they going to bring in someone else depending on what the price is? But I still think Mike Smith is decent to have as a backup for the rest of the season. So he made 22 saves, and then Aiden Hill was in net for the Arizona Coyotes here. Antti Ranta has been hurt for the Coyotes here, so there's been a carousel with the Coyote net here. He actually was in all 7 goals. He only made 19 saves in the loss there, but he had to run out of options on finding a goalie in Arizona right now. But this game marks 5 straight wins for the Calgary Flames here. So to wrap up this 6-game segment here, before I go on to other business here, game 48 happened on Wednesday, January the 16th. The Calgary Flames took on the Buffalo Sabres. That was a 7:30 puck drop at the Scotiabank Saddledome here, and unfortunately this is where the winning streak ends here, but we still managed to collect a point in a 4-3 overtime loss to the Buffalo Sabres. You gotta remember, this is not your last year's Buffalo Sabres here. Jack Eichel is obviously one of their top scorers, but they also picked up Ryan O'Reilly and Jeff Skinner, and Rasmus Dahlin's having a solid season, being the first overall pick last year. But I gotta say the Flames didn't quite really deserve this outcome, but they didn't play a perfect game here. They just played well overall, but Johnny Gaudreau scored in the second half of the first period to open up the scoring, but then Evan Rodriguez tied it up for the Buffalo Sabres in the second. And then all the offense came in the third period here. Is that if you go in the third period here, Matthew Tkachuk made it 2-1, and then Buffalo came back with 2 goals of their own, as mentioned Rasmus Dahlin, and then Jake McCabe scored the go-ahead goal to make it 3-2 for Buffalo in the third period here. And then Noah Hanifin tied it up for the Calgary Flames with about under 9 minutes to go in the third period. So it was back and forth, and it went to decided 60 minutes wasn't enough time to decide it. So it went to overtime, and then Jack Eichel, who scored the overtime winner at the 110 mark. This was unfortunately to end the 5-game winning streak for the Calgary Flames, but the Buffalo Sabres they're still hungry too, because I recall they got beaten 7-2 against the Edmonton Oilers a couple nights before, so you can probably say Buffalo Sabres were a little pissed off. Plus they're in the thick of playoff race out east there, fighting teams like Montreal and the York Islanders and the Pittsburgh Penguins right now, and trying to stay ahead of the Carolina Hurricanes there. So it's definitely a lot tighter spot or race going out in the east there, especially for the second wild card here. Highlight, I mean, David Riddick was a little off this game. He only made 19 saves here, and I mean, Calgary's defense suppressed the Sabres here. Linus Ullmark for the Buffalo Sabres, he had 30 saves in the win for the Buffalo Sabres, and I mean, the Flames did outshoot them. Also, keep in mind here, the last couple games here, Travis Hamonic was out of the lineup with family illness, so they moved Owen Hannafin up to the second pair with they actually moved Oliver Kylington, and then they had Dalton Prout brought in. So Dalton Prout played in a couple games there, and then James Neal was he was sick and missed the last game itself here. So after everything is said and done here, after 48 games, the Calgary Flames are 30, 13, and 5 for 65 points here. Let's keep in mind that the Flames only won 37 games all of last season, so I think I heard a tidbit here that this is the fastest, second fastest the Flames accumulated 30 wins since the 1988-89 season, and as you might recall, they did special things that year. So right now, where they stand, they're first in the Pacific Division, but if you go back to my opening here, the San Jose Sharks and the Vegas Golden Knights are still on their heels here, literally. As I'll say, the Calgary Flames are still first in the Pacific and the Western Conference, and second in the NHL overall. As of making these notes, they're 9 points behind the Tampa Bay Lightning for first overall here, but when it comes within the division here, we're 2 points ahead of the San Jose Sharks, but we have a game in hand, and 5 points ahead of the Vegas Golden Knights. Both Calgary and Vegas have played 48 games here. And actually, when it comes to the overall standings here, Calgary's number 2 in the NHL, San Jose is number 3, and Vegas is number 6 here. So considering people were thinking that the Pacific Division was going to be a weak division here, I mean, the top 3 teams are in the top 10 in the NHL here. But I would still looking like, if you look at the standings right now, there's likely going to be 5 teams from the Central making the playoffs here, the 2 wild cards here, because the Central's still a lot more competitive, because there's definitely at least a 13-point gap here between Vegas and either Anaheim or Edmonton. I mean, Anaheim's definitely been on a recent funk here, and actually they went on a 12-game losing streak there. So other than those short-term injuries that I mentioned for the Calgary Flames here, they still got Yusuf Alamaki and Michael Stone still out with injuries, but it still sounds like there might be some progress with Michael Stone here, as he's actually begun skating here. So he had a blood clot in his arm, and Yusuf Alamaki, no word, still that lower body injury. So other numbers to look at, these are the team numbers here, is power play, they're 22.6%. That puts them 8th in the league. Penalty kill, it still could use a little work. It's 78.5% with 21st in the league. Shots against, this is how, while we suppress shots here, actually 28.6 shots per game puts us 4th overall. And then when it comes to faceoffs, which we've definitely proven that category too, it's at 52.1%, and that puts us number 5 in the league here. So if you look at some player stats here, they're still quite stunning and spectacular here. I mean, I mentioned the 3 usual suspects, he mentioned a lot here. So if we look at the Flames leaders first here, when it comes to points, Johnny Gaudreau leads the team with 71 points. He could potentially hit 120 points this season, which definitely be quite incredible. Sean Monahan second with 58 points, so he could be on pace for a 100-point season. Same with Matt Tkachuk and Elias Lindholm, they're both tied for 3rd on the team with 55 points, and then round up the top 5, Mark Giordano has 48 points here. That's for points overall. For goals here, Johnny Gaudreau leads the way with 28. Sean Monahan second with 25. Matt Tkachuk has 24 goals, and Elias Lindholm, 4th at 21, and Michael Frolik is actually excuse me, coming up there, 5th on the team with 11 goals here. So that's pretty good. I think the other tidbit I heard about the points here is that because we have four players here that have 50 points here. I think they said one time that the Flames were the first team since I think it was the 1995-1996 Pittsburgh Penguins that had 5 players at least 50 points at like 40 games in the season. And I do recall that team, actually the Pittsburgh Penguins, went to the Conference Championship and lost to Florida in Game 7 that year when Florida made their run to their Stanley Cup final. So, I mean, it's great company what the Flames have been doing here. So when it comes to assists here, I'll look at the top 5 again. Johnny Gaudreau leads with 43 assists. Mark Giordano is 2nd with 39. Elias Lindholm has 34 for 3rd and 4th place. Sean Monahan 33. And Matthew Tkachuk has 31 for down to the top 5. And then we'll get back to these other numbers here. But let's look at the goalies here, because there's still a huge disparity here in the goalies here. Dave Riddick, who I say has stolen the job here. In 28 games, listen to this. He has 17 wins, 4 losses, and 4 overtime losses. Goals against average at .250 and a save percentage of .917. So he's definitely taking over that. Mike Smith here, I mean, numbers aren't his best, but it's gotten a little better considering the start of the year here. 24 games, Mike Smith has 13 wins, 9 losses, 1 overtime loss. His goals against average is 3 exactly, and his save percentage is .889 here. So, I mean, I still think unless they can find an upgrade that makes sense and doesn't cost too much, I think, they should keep Mike Smith around for the stretch drive and name him the backup here. In case you're wondering here for our offensive players here, let's look at where some of our players stack in terms of the league leaders here. And actually, Johnny Gaudreau with 71 points is tied for 2nd in the league in scoring. Nikita Kucherov for the Tampa Bay Lightning has 76 points. And Mikko Rantanen for the Colorado Avalanche also has 71 points. So both Johnny and Rantanen has 71 points for 2nd in the league in scoring here. And if we look down here, Sean Monahan is actually tied for 10th in scoring with 58 points with Mark Scheifele of the Winnipeg Jets. And then Matthew Tkachuk and Elias Lindholm are also tied for 13th place with 55 points. They're tied with guy David Pastrnak of the Boston Bruins, and you might have heard this Sidney Crosby guy with the Pittsburgh Penguins here. And then looking down here, that's it for scoring for the points. And then when it comes to goals here, let's see where our leaders are. Johnny Gaudreau is tied for 6th in the league with 28 goals. Alexander Ovechkin is leading the way with 33 here for the Rocket Richard Trophy. And actually Sean Monahan is 13th in the league in goals, tied with Mark Scheifele and Patrick Laine with 25 goals. And Matthew Tkachuk is 16th in the league, tied with 24 here. So, I mean, a lot of our Flames here are starting to hang out here with the top scorers here. And then when it comes to assists here, Johnny Gaudreau is tied for 4th in the league with 43 assists. He's tied with Brent Burns. Nikita Kucherov for the Tampa Bay Lightning is leading the way with 54 assists here. Mark Giordano is 10th place with 39 assists. And looking down here, Elias Lindholm is tied with a bunch of guys with 18th with 34 assists here. So that's definitely impressive there. And then when it comes to plus minus here, I intentionally left it out here. But the plus minus here, Mark Giordano actually leads the league at plus 33. 2nd is my teammate TJ Brody with 30. And then Elias Lindholm is tied with Morgan Riley and of the Toronto Maple Leafs and Brian Dumoulin of the Pittsburgh Penguins with 26 there. And both Dumoulin and Riley are defensemen here with 26 plus 26. And then Michael Backlund actually is 12th with 20 plus 21. And Johnny Gaudreau is tied with Ryan McDonough for 13th plus 20 here. So definitely some nice impressive numbers here for Calgary Flame players within the league leaders here. Excuse me. And then, I mean, the Flames also lead the way in shorthanded goal scorer, which Mark Jankowski is tied with Michael Grabner for 4 goals in the shorthanded, and Mark Giordano 7th, tied for 7th with 2, and same with I think Michael Frolik also has 2 goals. Yep, tied for 7th with a bunch of other guys here. So that's definitely a lot of impressive stats here to throw around for the Calgary Flames, and seeing the players that they're tied with and who else is tied with. That reaches my point on why I think more people should be considering the Calgary Flames as Stanley Cup contenders here. And then recently, before we start looking ahead here, actually the Calgary Flames on Saturday, March the 2nd here, this is definitely well deserved here, they'll be retiring. Jerome McGinley's number 12, retiring is the key word here, as Mike McDonald has his number 9 retired, and Mike Vernon has his number 30 retired. I mean, I know the Flames had their Forever a Flame program where it's like your number's not quite retired, but we're still honoring you. Because Al McInnes, number 2, is up there. Although you haven't seen many Flames wear number 2. I mean, I know Mike Commodore was the last Flame defenseman to wear number 2 there, and not too many players have worn number 25 for the Calgary Flames. I know the last guy I think that wore number 25 was David Moss, the forward, but those are 2 Flames that, I mean, they didn't necessarily end their tenure with the Flames at best terms, but I think those are guys that definitely should, they should be retiring their numbers, but Ginlow's number 12 is going to be retired. Other guys that I think definitely needs to get their number retired by the Flames is get number 14 up there for Theoren Fleury, and I think Mika Kiprusoff has done enough if they can find him and track him down and arrange so he can come back and wave to the crowd and say, oh, thanks for everything, in this Finnish accent, and hang number 34. And then also Mark Steven, who is the Stampeders play-by-play guy, he put some nice insight on, he actually made a point about they should also honor Cliff Fletcher, the general manager, before he passes on here, but because he definitely built the Flames from the Atlanta days all the way up to the Stanley Cup Championship in 1989. But that's definitely some ideas there. I don't have any insight, but I just say retiring numbers should be, for the best of the best. The Forever Flame should be, some guys that, had great careers but don't necessarily deserve that honor to get their number retired. But I don't want to be ranting on too long here, but let's look ahead to what will be episode 10 here for the next 6 games here on the schedule here. So game 49 will be Friday, January the 18th. The Calgary Flames wrap up the 5-game homestand with the Detroit Red Wings. That's a 7 p.m. puck drop at Scotiabank Saddledome. And then the next night, game 50, Saturday, January the 19th, the Calgary Flames make their trip up to QE2 to take on the Edmonton Oilers at Rogers Place, 8 p.m. puck drop on Hockey Night in Canada. And game 51, this one's definitely going to be very anticipated on the schedule here, because on Tuesday, January the 22nd here, the Calgary Flames come back home. This is actually a game before the All-Star break. The Calgary Flames take on the Carolina Hurricanes. Scotiabank Saddledome, 7 p.m. puck drop. Well, there's definitely going to be a lot of storylines of that game with Bill Peters, Derek Ryan, Elias Lindholm, and Noah Hanifin. Also, this Dougie Hamilton guy, I'm sure he's going to get razzed after all the stories that's come up about Dougie Hamilton. And Michael Furlan would be also making this return to the South, assuming no trades happen. And there's rumors that both Hamilton and Furlan could be on the block here for trade. So, if you go back to my Dougie Hamilton trade video there, I mean, this trade's looking better every day for the Calgary Flames right now. So that takes you up to the All-Star break. And then game 52, Calgary Flames go on the road here for a couple games. On Friday, February the 1st, the Calgary Flames take on the defending Stanley Cup champions, the Washington Capitals, at the Capital One Arena, 5 p.m. puck drop. And in Game 53 on Sunday, February the 3rd, this happens to actually be Super Bowl Sunday here, but the Calgary Flames actually go to Carolina and take on the Hurricanes again, so the Carolina people can write those storylines in reverse for those papers. That's at the PNC Arena with the 12 noon puck drop, so that game can happen before Super Bowl Sunday here. And then Game 54, another game that's going to be very hotly contested, especially what happened on New Year's Eve and given the playoff race. Thursday, February 7th, the San Jose Sharks come to town with a 7 p.m. puck drop there, and that's going to be another anticipated game. So episode 10 could be shaping up to be a very, very interesting episode here. And before I close things off here, if you care about any of this All-Star game, the All-Star weekend happens on Friday, January the 25th, and Saturday, January the 26th. The S&P Center in San Jose is hosting the All-Star game this year. So the skills competition happens on the Friday, and that's supposed to start at 6 p.m. This is Mountain Time, by the way. And then the All-Star game itself, which is pretty much a 3-on-3 glorified pond hockey shinny tournament. But the first game will have the Central and the Pacific play at 6:15 p.m. puck drop. And then they have the Metropolitan and the Atlantic Division come play at the 7:15 puck drop. And I'm going to assume the hour later, the winners of those games will face off for the championship, and the winning team shares $1 million and gets the honor of being, you won the All-Star game. So, as I say, speaking of the All-Star game, Flame representatives will be there. Bill Peters will be the head coach of the Pacific Division team. And only Johnny Gaudreau got named to the All-Star team on the Pacific Division. And I think Mark Giordano got snubbed a little, because they had a last man vote here for the league picked out players that got to decide on who you get to vote this last player in, and ultimately actually was Leon Draisaitl up the road at Edmonton that got that last player standing here. But a lot of these players that get named to the All-Star team game also would rather just spend time with family or hit the couch or go somewhere warm for a couple of days, because it's a long grind and long season here, and players can use a break, especially if they plan on making a long run to the Stanley Cup, and I expect the Flames to be doing that given the way how things are going here. So anyway, that's my Calgary Flames in 6. Episode 9 here. As I say, if you enjoy everything I do on my YouTube channel, just make sure you hit like, subscribe. As I always say, I'll see you in the next video. Go Flames go. Let's keep this run coming in the second half of the season. I'm enjoying it, and I'm really looking forward to the spring here and trade who we draw here, and hopefully it's 2004 again, but this time we win it like we did in 1989. Thank you.